Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel here today, and we're back for another Walking Dead discussion video here today. And today, we're going to be doing something a little different. We're doing a what-if topic on Mike, Bonnie, and ARVO. And the topic today this is from Season 2, Episode 5, is what if Mike, Bonnie, and ARVO did not betray the group, and what would have stemmed as a result of them not betraying the group. Lots of stuff happened based off this event, so obviously this event doesn't happen. They have to change a lot of things up. So, we'll get straight into it, guys. Again, if we go for 200 likes, straw poll down below in the description. You're going to go vote for the next TW video. I'll put another what-if kind of video in it, as well as what day do you want Batman. I have between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, whatever day you want Batman. We'll be able to do Batman. I'm sorry, I've been delaying it. And also, we're probably going to do some Life is Strange, because the new season of Life is Strange is coming out. So we'll try to get those both in the next couple days. So again, thank y'all for watching. And again, let's go for 200 likes, and let's get straight into it. So if you remember correctly, this happened right after Clem and Kenny left here, as I'm showing you right now. And this was, what stemmed to make this decision happen was obviously Luke's death and then the friction between the group. So basically, I'm going to be discussing what if this betrayal, this scene right here I'm showing you, did not happen. What if it did not happen? What would have happened as a result? I'm going to be talking hypotheticals here and how what would have happened with the group and all of that. So if we remember, right after Luke died, the group was crumbling. It was getting down pretty much to the end. Everyone was losing their minds. It was pretty obvious. And then you had Mike, who wanted to go to Texas. You had Kenny, who wanted to go to Wellington. And you had Jane that wanted to go to House Hardware. So if you put that all together, 3 different locations. Now, if you subtract the betrayal of Mike, Bonnie, and ARVO. Now, obviously, Bonnie being a determined character, she may not be in this. But they obviously had a plan. Kenny had a plan. Jane had a plan. What caused the event was that differing of opinion, and that, Kenny had kind of, in some people's mind, at least in their mind, that he'd lost his mind and they couldn't compute with him anymore. And basically, he was a detriment as they saw it fit. Even though I completely disagree with that. Now, what we have to look at right now is where do I think what would have happened? So let's say, Mike, he's planning this out the night before, him and ARVO, and right when they're about to do it, they have a second thought and they say, okay, we're not going to do this. We're not going to betray the group. So they decide not to betray the group. So if we remember we got to talk about why this event, what conspired in this event. This was basically them they wanted to take the truck, but they couldn't get it started because they didn't have the keys. Now, obviously, this doesn't happen. We don't have Clem getting shot. We don't have them going in the snow, escaping. We could potentially don't have the Jane and Kenny fight. We don't have potentially going them to Wellington or House Hardwares. But maybe in another scenario they could. A lot can stem just from this one action. Remember now, obviously the hatred towards ARVO had hit the limit. Kenny did not want to bring him in the car. If we remember correctly, he did not want to bring him in the car. And obviously Mike wanted to bring ARVO with the group. So they would have had to come to some compromise here. So that's where I'm going to start my theory here. So let's go to the night this happens. So let's say that they don't do this. They're going to wake up in the morning. So now we got to look at what happens. Now there's no shooting. There's no escape. There's no supplies being taken. They've got the supplies and they need to move. So now, obviously, what's going to come here, I believe this would have been a multi-determinant choice. This is what I'm going to put as a thing. I think instead of the fourth decision in Season 2, Episode 5 was with Mike and, saying if I want to go with you or not, or, screw you, Mike, you know what I mean? That was like the fourth choice. So instead of that choice happening, since that event did not happen, I believe we would have had a 3-way determinant decision here between going to Texas with Mike, to going to Wellington with Kenny, or going to House Hardware with Jane. But they would have all been together as a group, because I see the crumbling still with the group. It would have most likely happened later on, though. So I believe maybe you could have been the choosable vote. Clem could have been the choosable vote, and whatever one she picked was maybe how they went. Because obviously that betrayal had set the course of action for them, what happened and where to go. So now let's assume that doesn't happen. Kenny obviously had his mind set on going to Wellington. He He had the car. He got the car working. So I believe Kenny would have been in charge of this. He would have been in charge of them going. So I believe no matter what you would maybe decide, this decision maybe not would have mattered that much. I believe another scenario, Kenny would have just gone. Now I don't believe Kenny would be that crazy to kidnap AJ, but I have a feeling either Jane or Kenny in this scenario, if the shooting does not happen, I believe they would have made one of them maybe would have taken AJ. Because maybe the way Kenny was, I love Kenny to death, man, but he was losing it a little bit. You got to admit that. But he still had his loyalty was always still there in his heart, which was like I said why he's one of my favorite characters. But I thought he would have had enough craziness maybe to take AJ and maybe try to convince Clem to come with him and maybe have something like that. Now obviously Kenny didn't like Jane. Jane didn't like Kenny. Mike didn't like Kenny. Kenny didn't like Mike. They were all everyone in this triangle hated each other. And this is why this group was destined to fail, and this is why the betrayal happened. Now, the betrayal doesn't happen in my scenario here. So, right after this multi-determinant choice that I've drawn out here, I believe Kenny takes AJ and is pretty much, I think he could potentially leave based on your decision here. If you, let's say, I want to go to Texas, or I want to go to House Hardware. Let's say a determinant choice being Kenny will leave with AJ. That would be mind-shocking. Let's say you want to go with Kenny. Then you go with Kenny. Let's say you want to go with Mike. Potentially, maybe some conflict happens and maybe somebody dies. Because obviously, it could have gotten this, potentially maybe a fight could have arisen. Because obviously, after remember, in the shooting, you remember how pissed Kenny got when Clem got shot. Obviously, after that moment had happened, I had lost complete respect for all of them. So let's say it doesn't happen. Obviously, Mike is not a snake. Bonnie's not a snake. And ARVO, you still hate ARVO, but you don't hate him as much as you could. But now, we got to look at it this way. This multi-determinant choice that I've drawn up basically decides several scenarios. So now, who knows if we're going to Wellington? Who knows if we're going to House? Who knows if we're going to Texas? So I believe no matter what, had this conflict not happened, I believe there would have been some kind of debate / intermediation maybe that would have caused some kind of fight. But I believe, let's just say we were going with Kenny. So let's say we wake up the next morning and we go with Kenny. We got Mike, Bonnie, and ARVO. Now obviously that ARVO thing, remember with Kenny saying he didn't want ARVO on, I believe this would have caused conflict no matter what had happened. We obviously have that conflict there. Without this fight now, ARVO's not on most people's good side. So maybe, again, if scenario choice A that I drew up wasn't an option, what if scenario choice B, this is if that first choice didn't exist that I came up with, what if Clem had the choice, the deciding choice to keep ARVO or not? And obviously ARVO then becomes a determinant character in terms of leaving him. It basically is something like Lily in season 1 where you leave Willie. So that's all gone. That ARVO comes with you or not. So how about now, the direction you're going? Because again, it could be based on a determinant choice, or maybe Kenny just decides. So let's just say we're going to go to Wellington. For example, we're in this exact scene that I'm picturing here right now in the video. So let's say we've got ARVO potentially determinantly in the back or the front. And remember, Bonnie is a determinant character as well. So Bonnie determinantly in the back or the front. And then you have Mike coming with you no matter what. So they probably get up to the same area as they were driving up here, and they had to get for gas again. And then let's just say, they lose each other. And then they get, let's say Clementine is with Mike, and let's say they go up to the rest stop. And let's just say that scenario with Jane is still happening, where Jane says she lost the baby. Now, obviously, we know AJ's in the car, but with Mike there, would it cause some kind of conflict? Would Mike maybe side with Jane, and would Kenny be overpowered? Or would this become a triple fight, where everybody completely loses their minds, and they go battle royale, and it's a complete dogfight? And Clem has now a choice between three. Obviously, Mike if we take out the shooting, we also take out that potential, glitch. Remember that happened where you could kill Mike, but it was a glitch. So that's telling me Mike has importance. Maybe originally this was not drawn up to be what would happen, because obviously people were talking about Luke living instead of Jane. So, a lot of scenarios happening. Then, what if this became a triple determinant decision? And instead of the alone ending, what if you had an ending where you went with Mike, an ending where you went with Jane, and an ending where you went with Kenny? Now that's crazy. That's crazy. Or potentially Mike, Kenny, or Jane could have died, and then it could have been a fight between the two remaining characters. So instead of maybe the alone ending, you could have potentially a Mike ending. So that means you'd have an ending somewhere in Texas, you'd have the ending in House, and you'd have the ending in Wellington. So that would be crazy. They basically just scrap up the alone ending, and then you have, 3 different. But I don't know. Mike wasn't really built up to be a really good character. I mean, in terms of like relationship-wise, and how much Telltale was revealing of him. Because Jane really, until episode 3, I didn't think she was going to be a major character, but it was obvious near the end that they put more emphasis on Jane and what Clementine thought of her, obviously. But obviously that betrayal doesn't happen. Mike's one of my favorite characters. If that betrayal does not happen, I enjoyed Mike. Before the episode 5 came out, I said Mike was one of my favorite characters. He was. Until he decided to betray the group. And then boom. Let's say that doesn't happen. The scene doesn't happen. I like Mike. Mike isn't bad. So now you have those 3 different cutout endings. And now let's just say we go the Mike route. How would that work out in terms of season 3? Maybe they have a scene with Mike. But obviously, having him alive or not would be determinant. Obviously, I think if we had the 3 endings. So, obviously, Bonnie and ARVO it'd be weird if I put it from that scenario. Now let's say the other scenario where we have ARVO not being determined, ARVO comes with us, or maybe we have Kenny drive off, like I said, and what if you're left with just the remnants of Jane, Mike, ARVO, and potentially Bonnie? That'd be pretty crazy. You've got no car. Let's say this car is gone, because remember, they were trying to take the car. That scene didn't happen. But remember, no matter what, in the morning, they were going to leave. They were going to go somewhere. The plan was to go somewhere. And that's why I drew up the 3 location scenario, because they had to go somewhere. Because, remember, they were running out of baby formula. AJ was in trouble. So they needed to get somewhere fast. And that's why, like I said, even though that freaking gunfight, hypothetically, in this video doesn't happen, there would have been some kind of conflict of brewing, or some kind of decision that would have been made. And they obviously had 3 different ideas where they wanted to go. So somebody would have had to make a decision, or maybe another fight would have happened, but the Kenny Jane scenario fight maybe happens even sooner. It happens right at that ARVO house there, and then you look at everything else, it's insane. Obviously Bonnie doesn't really matter in this, because she's a determined character. So her impact, whether this action didn't happen or not, really wouldn't be that impactful. Obviously, this doesn't happen. Bonnie will show up maybe for a couple more scenes, but she's probably dead. She's probably gonna die. She's probably gonna die somewhere in terms of going to the Wellington or the rest stop here. She'll probably die. Let's say they crash. She goes through the front window or something stupid like that. She would have probably died if this scenario would have happened. All right, then we also have got to look at ARVO. Now, ARVO's impact, obviously, we still probably hate ARVO, most likely, but he doesn't shoot Clementine. So, we don't really hate his guts. We still hate him. We don't really hate his guts. So, that decision of keeping him or leaving him would have been the impact. Jane, obviously, and Kenny would have felt different, because they maybe would have not felt so set up in their own thing that they maybe would have not wanted to go somewhere. I don't know. Obviously, and then Clementine, obviously, what we would have wanted to do. We obviously had different, things. Our decisions could have maybe been more impactful had Mike maybe not betrayed the group. But then it all leads up to, like I said, the ending. I believe the ending of this would have been a circle, like I said, that multiple choice, or Mike potentially maybe running away later. What if this crash happens, and let's just say Mike and ARVO just leave here, and then maybe it plays out the same. It could easily play out different ways. Mike doesn't betray the group, Mike just leaves maybe, or we lose Mike. Potentially. Anything is possible. But obviously, I want to hear what you guys think. Now, I basically drew out this scenario of multiple decisions being different, and then obviously maybe going in 3 different locations as a result, and having I still would believe multiple endings would have happened, where the shooting would have happened or not. Now, in the end, that's what I think's gonna. That's what I thought, would have happened. I believe if my set theory for this, if this shooting would have not happened, is that Bonnie would have died later on as a determinate character, whether you kept her alive or not. ARVO would have been potentially determined or not, but you eventually would have probably lost him, or at least gotten into a conflict with him. Mike, obviously you can go with him somewhere or leave him, and then the Kenny and Jane scenarios could be the same, but I don't think their fight would have happened, or it would have been different, how it would have gone out, and then Clem obviously would have gone to different locations based off that. Obviously, this is a very good topic because I love discussing stuff like this. So that's basically what I think would have happened if Mike, Bonnie, and ARVO would have not betrayed the group. I obviously want to hear your guys' opinions because, like I said again, maybe I missed a couple of things or it, seems a little flawed. Obviously, give me your idea. You might have to put a couple paragraphs for this, but please, I'd like to read them. Give me what you think is the top one. I'll pin the top one that I think is the best one. If I see one that really, makes me feel well. But give me your story. Pop a paragraph for me or two. What do you think would have happened? Obviously, I want to read these out. So thank you for everyone that voted for this topic. I do appreciate it. If you guys did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And make sure to leave me a comment on what you think would have happened if this scene did not occur. Alright, guys. Thank you all again for watching. And I'll holler at y'all in the next video. Peace out.